Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and James. How are you, mate?
All good, mate. Thank you.
And Femi, how are you?
All good, my bro. Pleasure to be here.
Good stuff. We'll get straight into it. It was the golf's TGL week 2 this week, and I'm really enjoying it. Second weekend, I managed to watch the whole hour and 40 minutes all the way through. And found it very enjoyable. I feel like the commentators are getting in their stride as well now, and are comfortable with the format to talk about it and have a little bit more depth and breadth to what they're talking about with it as well, as they understand the technology a little bit more. I don't think that the technology involved is something that these golfing commentators were necessarily too au fait with. So it's been a little bit of a learning curve for the commentators as well as for the players, although the players are obviously more comfortable with like the top tracer shot tracking and what's it called? Virtual. Is it called virtual? What's it called, James? We can call it the virtual environment.
It's just the stadium environment, isn't it? I think the big thing that I picked up from watching the second week was, and I think they'll have to improve on this, the amount of times you saw a player hit a shot and not believe the tracer at all. So they're like, I've definitely not hooked that, or I've definitely not done that. And they look around as if like, but they can't clearly critique it. So they're going to have to work on the technology side, I imagine.
Yeah, Tiger Woods, I think he hit a 56, 130 yards, and he said, I don't hit that. I don't hit that far.
Yeah.
And if there is any golfer in the world that you would believe that knows his distances, it's Tiger Woods.
Yeah, exactly. So I think as they go on, it will get better though. But I spoke about this last week, but the only full version I watched the YouTube version that the good guys did. And I was just looking at their views before. They have the highest viewed TGL video on YouTube already. It's just short of 1 million views in 4 days.
They have. Yeah, they've got the engagement of that audience. I wonder what the actual viewing figures are from the televised version, though.
The YouTube
if they're exceeding that, I assume they are exceeding it. That they're probably getting a couple of mil views.
Yeah, in like the TV like records, I would imagine so. But their YouTube views were about 500-600K, I think, for the match recaps.
And that's not to be scoffed at. Speaking from a 4,500 view channel, 100 times that volume, I'd be very, very pleased with. But if I'd spent hundreds of millions, billions on my format, then I'd want a little bit more of it. But yeah, it's interesting. Like this, it feels a bit exhibition-y at the moment. So I don't know if the format and the style and the lack of competition in the actual formats is going to make people lose interest. But at the moment, it feels like just an exhibition. It doesn't feel competitive. It doesn't feel like they're playing their best. We've spoken about it before, right? They're kind of in a little bit of the limbo in the off season. Although tournaments have started on both tours, we've now got tournaments started last weekend with some big names playing. It still feels quite off seasony.
Yeah, obviously the Amex was last weekend and the Dubai Classic finish. So I think they're going to get into more reps and it'll become more of a consistent every week something to watch. I don't know how high the competition will ever be. I don't know if there's like a season-ending playoffs or some sort of format like that. But yeah, it's watchable. And yeah, I think the tech has to improve because if you see players sort of talking about it indirectly saying this isn't really what happened, then it's tough for fans to go, oh yeah, this is really realistic.
Yeah, because the players know how it's come off the club face.
Yeah. I mean, from playing like simulators, they're not always perfect. Even like the Trackmans and stuff, and they have to be really well dialed in to get accurate results. So I'm sure they'll get it right. Like the technology is there. It'll just take some time to iron out these like, early teething issues.
Yeah, what's been interesting in the scoring, it was a bit of a steamroll in week 1. The Bay won, I think, 9-2, and then this week, Jupiter, Tiger Woods team, versus LA. LA won 12-1. So it's a little, it's a little bit ridiculous, the scoring, it sounds. And I think part of that is the hammer, like using the hammer and getting those 2 additional points and accumulate a few of those and you just run away with it and you can't be beaten is kind of how it's been going the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I only really like sort of delved into the hammer from the YouTube guys video, so I didn't really know what was going on before. So obviously the hammer is, for the context, Femi, essentially before a hole starts, you can throw a hammer down and a team has to accept it. And that point for that hole is now worth double. There's other occasions where if you use it midway through a hole, so say you've teed off badly and I go, oh yeah, hammer's down, they can reject it and you automatically get the point for the hole and you just move on. So there's like some sort of strategy behind it, but it does make some of the scores a bit out there, especially in like a alternate shot format with what they're doing. If you have a player playing badly, like it's really difficult to stay into a match. But yeah, I think the format, I'd like to see singles at some point. I think that could be quite interesting. Or like a scramble so you can really mix it up.
Yeah, it's like them kicking it. It's them kicking off with like the alternate shot 3 balls that they've had, and they've kept that format. I guess they're going to play that format all the way through these opening rounds before they look at mixing it up. But I'm sure they'll be taking feedback and doing some different iterations of the format. But yeah, week 2 in the bag. Tiger Woods team, and it was Jupiter, Florida versus Serena Williams's LA team. Serena Williams and her husband, Alexi Reddit. I know he was co-founder of Reddit. That's all I know about him. But he's Alexi something or other, American investor. So they co-own the team versus Tiger Woods' own team. So up next, Tuesday 1st, tomorrow night as we're recording, New York Golf Club back again, playing against Atlanta Drive. And then the following week, I'll be interested to watch Boston Common Golf, who I've chosen to support, up against Tiger Woods' team. And that'll be played on the Monday night. So
is that Rory versus Tiger? Rory Boston?
Think so, actually.
Yeah, it's Boston Common Golf.
Oh, he is playing for
Roy,
Boston Common. Okay,
Egan Bradley,
yeah, perfect.
Hideki and Adam Scott.
Great, I've chosen the right team, I think.
Yeah, so you've got three out of that team have the nicest golf swings on the planet: Rory, Adam Scott, and Hideki Matsuyama. So yeah, at least
the only person missing, Tommy Fleetwood.
Tommy Fleetwood would be the perfect golf team. Yeah, that'd be good to watch.
So also then, that's from last week. Also from last week, we had the NFL playoffs to qualify for the conference championship games. Do you want to give us a lowdown, Femi?
It was honestly entertaining. I was devastated for my guy Lamar Jackson. Obviously, Baltimore Ravens, they crashed out. They lost to the Buffalo Bills. Disappointing loss, but obviously, you know, loads of contributing factors to that. But yeah,
well, it was close, and it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way, but I mean, it's the same story with Lamar Jackson, though. Like, you know, he plays excellent. He plays fantastic football during the normal season. Then come playoff time, you know, he's a slightly different player. And, you know, it was disappointing to see CNN, because you really thought this was their year. You know, obviously now you've literally got in, you know, King Henry, you know, now you've got, you know, a 1-2 punch. And they probably have the top 2 running backs in the league, you know, this year as well. So it was disappointing for them to crash out at this stage of the season. But you can't count out the Bills, man. I mean, you called it. You know, you literally predicted that the Bills are going to win it. But it was a close game. The drop pass from, what's his name? I don't even remember now. But I was fuming when I saw that. Because obviously they went for the 2-point conversion. And then, you know, he dropped the pass. So it was slightly disappointing on that note. But overall, it was an entertaining game, man. It delivered, like, all-out action all throughout the game. Was fun, was entertaining. You know, quality games all through.
Yeah, what was interesting is it was a little bit of a battle between the 2 quarterbacks. We'd spoken about Josh Allen, and Josh Allen could go on to be MVP, but he didn't pass great. He had 16 from 22. Catches from attempts and 127 yards in total. Passing yards is nothing to write home about at all. He didn't pass for any touchdowns either. He did run in a couple of touchdowns himself, which is what he's good at, picking up some yards on his own feet, which you do need. But yeah, like you said, the Bills were fairly good at keeping out what Baltimore Ravens are known for in their rushing yards. Like you said, Derrick Henry, like restricting him to an average of 5.5 yards per carry is very good. Not many teams have done that this year. And they're the kind of small margins that make the difference and mean that Buffalo are now in the conference championship against the Kansas City Chiefs. So they're playing a team that have a totally different style. They've got a totally different style to the Ravens, and that's what's going to be difficult for the Bills, is that they need to change it up within a week because the Chiefs obviously just coasted through.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs. I mean, probably favourites from my side anyway.
Go, James.
What happened to your Lions? I thought they were destined for a Super Bowl final.
Yeah,
I thought so too. Yeah.
Funny
just
thing.
Go on the Chiefs quickly, and then we'll talk about the conference.
Yeah, Chiefs for me favourite. Patrick Mahomes. Like, he comes correct when it comes to the clutch moments. You can't go against the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, or should I say, the Swifties.
Mr. Swift.
Mr. Swift. But honestly, I'm excited and pumped. I think they're gonna go. They're about to 3P, aren't they? Or 4P? Or 3P?
No, 3. Yeah, it'll be a 3.
So,
it would be a 3P, but they've got.
I honestly don't see anyone stopping them. The Bills will give them a good game. Obviously, it's that rematch. From a couple of years ago when the Bills were literally 11 seconds away, from making into Super Bowls. But obviously, Patrick Mahomes does Patrick Mahomes things, and extraordinary player. You just got to give him his credit, and it's going to be exciting. I'm pumped for the game. Like I said, it's a bit of a shame. Lamar Jackson couldn't get the job done, but rooting for Patrick Mahomes and looking forward to a good game.
As James will be too. I was going to say about Patrick Mahomes, like, again, he hasn't
played well this season.
His passing stats were similar to Lamar Jackson's, actually, and Josh Allen's. He was 16 from 25 and only 177 yards.
Yeah.
And a great game for a QB passing yards is when you look at a 300-yard game, or getting close to a 300-yard game. So, like, half of that is pretty subpar. But he's got a different. It's like he's adapted, and he's managing games better, and I think he's got a lot smarter. And I think that's where Tom Brady got to him in his game as well, where he wasn't throwing 40-yard receipts all the time. That's where Patrick Mahomes has kind of got to when he's off form and his arm's not on and isn't accurate. He's finding ways to get them around the park and keep on progressing them up the field. And that's what I think the difference is this year. So when we spoke earlier in the season, when they were on that winning run, but they were winning scrappy, it was exactly this. I don't know if it can get them for a conference final and a Super Bowl as well as winning in the regular season, but we'll see. Coming in the next couple of weeks.
It's that cringy word though, but they have that level of aura around them, which makes them really difficult to play. It's like playing, you've got to play above your station to even be in a game with them, which is why it gets scrappy. But yeah, just from the bits that I've watched, they just seem so clutch in the moments they absolutely have to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good call out, by the way. I feel like with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, he, for the most part, just lets him off the leash, and he could just do whatever he wants. He just have fun out there. That's probably the instruction he gives them. And now he's gotten to that level where he's being smart. As you rightly said, he's taking his time. He's been a lot more patient. He's not going for, the highlight reels like he normally does. I mean, I say that in the past, Travis Kelce was a really good one where he was literally falling off and still made the pass. So still excited for what Mahomes will do. I feel like he's a smart player, but he's also clutch. Like, you can't take that away from him. In the moment when you need that player to literally just come out and show up and show out, he's that sort of player who will just deliver something special for your team. So I back the Chiefs, but yeah, I'm excited. Let's move on to the Detroit Lions, because that was a big upset.
Hard to beat Buffalo Bills versus the momentum Chiefs. Winning 2 previous championships, that carries, like James said, it carries a lot of aura, and that makes them hard to beat. On the other side of the conference, on the other conference. So the reason why is because Jared Goff, he was playing like it was an exhibition match. He threw for 313 yards, but he was intercepted 3 times.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. But he was trying to pass everything. He should have been handing the ball off a little bit more. He attempted for 40, which is crazy. But yeah, those 3 interceptions really hurt them.
That's the point. These guys are playing for stats rather than playing to win sometimes. And that sounds weird. They want to win, but Like Mahomes shows the ability to win football games by himself by doing the scrappy stuff really well, which not just an American football thing. I think it probably like transcends sport. Is that know-how how to win is so hard to teach, and like, there's probably like 2 or 3 people in each sport that have that ability.
Yeah, like we just spoke about the golf and scrambling in golf and getting it up and down, like managing a 1-0 win in football, having a defensive mid that can scrappily break up player the opposition. Like they're all similar traits as to what it takes in many, many different sports.
Yeah, agreed.
But Jaden Daniels, conversely, on the other side of the field for the Washington Commanders, I'm still not used to saying Washington Commanders. Might naturally go Washington Redskins. Previously named Washington Redskins. We'll see with the new government now in the US. Maybe they'll be allowed to revert back to Washington Redskins.
Mate, we gotta give him his credit, man. Honestly, rookie season coming out and putting on a performance like that, like they are the Washington. I was literally about to say Washington Redskins.
Commanders.
They are irrelevant, and then they're not here to compete. They're here to win, and they're here to take over. And honestly, they did exactly that. Jaden McDaniels, he put in a performance of a lifetime. For a rookie to have that level of bottle and that level of composure to literally, put on the performance that he did, a lot of credit has to go to him as well. But granted, the Detroit Lions at one point, they had quite a few of their players injured, the defensive line literally losing loads of key players. So we can't ignore that, but I think it's still important to be able to show up, to put in a performance like that, especially as a rookie. Like, you have to give him a ton of credit. It was an incredible performance. Jared Goff, as we said, he was here today, gone tomorrow. That's that sort of performance where, he definitely gave his team too much to do when you're committing 3 turnovers in the playoffs. So it says a lot. It says a lot, and you give your team too much, to overcome, and that was what happened. And we said, we give him credit all throughout the season, and he played some really good football. But postseason, the real Jared Goff, came out, should I say, and definitely disappointed for them. But listen, credit to the Washington Commanders. They did what they need to do, and now they've got
Philadelphia Eagles.
You know what I'm saying? So that'd be a good game as well, man.
It will, but I think that the winner of the Super Bowl is coming from the AFC.
Oh, for sure. 100% agreed. I mean, we'll probably have a rematch of last year's one, with Eagles and was it? It was last year, wasn't it? Actually, no, it was the year before that.
It was the year before, yeah.
I think last year was 49ers.
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers. So I think this year probably have a rematch of the previous year with Eagles versus the Chiefs. Saquon Barkley and Hurts. I know they would definitely have a lot to say about that. So it will be exciting, but let's see what happens Sunday.
In football?
Yeah.
Should we start with United?
We definitely can, and I was very intrigued to see Amarin himself, and it's an interesting strategy to go on to be so self-depreciating. But he was saying, like, we're probably the worst Man United side of all time, and he's not particularly wrong, and he knows this is not his team. He's not built the team yet. He's going to be building the team over the next couple of transfer windows if he's given that time. However, you still have to manage what you've got, and they are Premiership and international players that you should be able to get something out of. But basically, his run of form is worse than Ten Hag's was in the first, what was it? They both had pretty much 11 games each, didn't they? Anyway, through 22 games, they're on 26 points. And that is the worst run of form in 35 years for United.
This is the problem hiring system managers, that it takes time for system managers to get system players that fit them. Like, you see some managers come into the Premier League and just sort of adapt pretty quickly. Maresca probably being one. They're not doing amazing recently, but he's taken a Chelsea team that were finishing 10th to a Champions League chasing with no real transfers. Obviously, they had Dewsbury Hall come in, but I can't remember that much in note of the summer. But I just think Amarin's going to take time to get players that fits the way he wants to play.
Mm-hmm.
Concern is the way he's going about it in between that doesn't scream like great man management.
Yeah, I think that same. I'm rooting for him. I've been rooting for him since he joined, but I think that's probably the one thing that surprised me: his man management skills. To be so damning of your players,
Hmm.
in the press conference, mate. Like, listen, especially for someone who used to be a player.
Yeah.
That was a bit surprising. I think he probably let his emotions get the best out of him, and I think he'll probably take that back, at some point in a press conference this coming week. But I mean, to be fair to him, like the players have just not been up to standard, and and it's not like he's shifting blame. He's always said we are probably the worst United team. So he takes full responsibility. I mean, and it's hard to win when you've got, I mean, I was praising him a couple of weeks ago, but now it's like, we're.
I know you're going to say Anana, and the name
No,
Anana's coming.
it's time. You know what I'm saying? Like it's time. He has to go. Honestly,
You can't make. Well, the challenging thing for Anana is he makes these mistakes 1 in 3 games, but it's points losing mistakes is the problem. And when you had your competition playing as well as he did, man of the match in the FA Cup,
Yeah.
ultimate shot stopper, managed the game really well and saving penalties, it's really hard to justify staying with Anana next week. But that will hammer his confidence.
Yeah, that would kill that. It'll be too. I wouldn't make that move at this stage.
Yeah, you'd hate to see it.
Yeah, I would say for like the league, there's not much you're playing for anyway. I mean, who knows? Because at this rate, we might be playing to stay in the Premier League.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so. Especially with Ipswich losing this week, there's a little gap to the relegation battle as Ipswich and Wolves are on the cusp, and
10 points.
obviously.
All it takes is 3 losses, and I wouldn't put United past that.
I just think the teams at the bottom are so bad.
Yeah.
You'd be fine. You think Spurs are in the same conversation? They just lost Solanke.
Spurs, oh my.
Yeah, are we done to Dan?
Yeah, you can't judge him. I think it's the same as Ange. You can't really judge him off this run of form this season.
No.
Give him a summer, give him a window. But you look like you're close on PSR, so there's going to be these players that have to leave. Like the guy is being touted for 50 million quid. Rashford's wages are a problem. I think who else you really need to get rid of.
Anthony's gone out on loan.
Yeah, but you're not going to get any of that 80 million quid back, are you?
Exactly. So,
If you get half, if you got half,
oh mate, I'll take it.
No chance.
Take it.
I think you'll be getting 20 max, 18 mil. I could see him going for.
I think the problem with United as well is like we haven't got players, that other clubs want. Garnacho is probably the only one, and Mainu. And it's like, would you sell Mainu? Like, brilliant player, but it looks like he doesn't even fit the manager's system. He's been average, bang average.
Is that
The only player that's really putting their hand up that everyone would want is Ahmad.
Yeah, and there's mate. I think he's extending his contract to 2030. I was even annoyed with him giving one of them Chelsea deals or give him a Haaland deal. Should we even say?
Yeah,
10 years. It's insane. Yeah. So honestly, like with United, this season is basically a write-off, man. Just lick your wounds, take your time, build your confidence, build a style of play from now to the end of the season. If you can make it in the top half, good. If you can't, whatever. Just focus on playing football and entertaining the fans. And if you can even win a trophy or two, I mean, why not? But hard to see that happen.
I just think your club's being run the complete wrong way. I think every club in the country, bar Liverpool and City, need to be buying players, making them better and selling them on, right? Especially England. And you are doing the opposite. You're buying expensive players, making them worse and losing money on every player.
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you run a football club like that? That's not even like a meme. That's exactly what's happened. Like, you could tell me a single player in the last 10 years for United that went on to sell for more than you paid for, who weren't an academy graduate.
Ronaldo.
No.
I mean, Daniel James.
Was that a profit?
Yeah. I remember when Leeds bought him, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they paid the amount they did for Daniel James. That we literally sold him for a profit. That's the last time we made him.
18 for 30. Okay, that might be the only one.
It's like crazy.
But how hard do you have to scrape around? How hard do you have to scrape around to find a name.
I
So
mean-
the conversation, like you said, James, like if they can start playing some attractive football and start building the system. Like it's been touted that Goikarec is going to come from Sporting. Like
Why?
you could see it, but you could see him at United because United is still a massive name in world football. I know.
Gyökeres
Yeah,
only knows if Amorim's there, which probably makes sense. But there is I'm like trying to not be too harsh, but there isn't a less attractive top team than United at the moment. Like, why would you go there? Maybe in a couple of years when they've rebuilt, but you don't want to be that player that goes flops and your career stalls because of it.
Yeah, it's a high risk at this point in his career, but Sporting players will obviously be well up there in the reckoning. But yeah, like if he can build and bring in some transfers, build towards the end of the season, play some attractive football, get the players enjoying playing football because they look miserable except for Ahmad. But Ahmad, I think he'll get the curse too. Like he'll get struck. It's contagious. Everyone around you is hating playing for the club right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's contagious, and he can't keep playing on this high on his own. At times carrying them.
The atmosphere has to be so toxic. Like you're seeing players come in, like Lenny Yoro was one of those highly rated defenders in the world, right?
He was, yeah.
And he would look horrendous against that.
Cooked.
Yeah. So
baptism of fire in that game.
Is that what a lack of confidence does to somebody? Is that what over the weight of the shirt, the expectation is that you just see players break down in front of you?
Yeah.
Tricky one.
In a fairly similar position, we'll move to some good news in football after this, but in a fairly similar position is obviously Spurs at the moment.
Yeah, I'm very much the Ange inside of it. I think you can't sack a manager based off what's going on. Form's horrendous, don't get me wrong. Team isn't playing properly, but they've got an 18-year-old centre mid playing centre half. Like they've got a right back they didn't really want playing left back. They've got a goalkeeper who's just signed from Czech Republic playing every game. Like they are so bare bones, and they're still in the semi-final of a cup with a one-leg advantage. So yeah, I just can't see them sacking him.
No, I can't see them sacking him. I can see them giving him more time. However, Daniel Levy is pretty ruthless, and one of the challenges that they've got is Daniel Levy's a sharp. You want him to be a sharp to the rest of the league, and he is, but he does it internally as well, and he really rules with an iron fist. So I feel like that must be a quite hard environment to operate under. As well as that, like I've spoken to Spurs fans over the last few days, and I spoke to them a couple of months ago, and a couple of months ago they were like, hey, we don't mind losing some games if we're playing like this. And then it transitioned to, yeah, we're losing games and the style's not quite there at the minute because of so many injuries, and we do have so many injuries. But right now it's a mix of, there's a few first-team players that are injured, but a lot of them are squad depth. They are what would be Trossard for Arsenal.
No,
there's a lot. There's a
missing 7 first teamers.
There's a lot of squad depth that's gone.
Keeper, so Vicario's out, Solanke's out, Adogi's out.
But they bought in, but they're one keeper.
No, they haven't. They brought in a number 2 keeper. Bentancur's out, Romero's out, Mickey van der Ven's out, and Basuma's out. They're all starting players for Spurs. Every single one of them.
What was your sequel, Lars?
Did Cunha score? Damn it. If you look at the list of players, like Solanke's now out for another 6 weeks. But yeah, Vicario's they're starting.
Yeah, Solanke this weekend, that really hurts. Like that's going to do a world of damage. But where we've got to now is that Ange, he said at the start of the season, when he had the losses, he said he wasn't going to change the way he played. This is the way his football team was going to play. And that was like, yeah, cool. Man of his word. Now it's like, you need to adapt because you don't have the players that you had at the start of the season to play that way. These players can't play that way. So you need to adapt to the squad that you've got. And he's not. He's one-dimensional, and he is hurting them as much as the other circumstances are hurting them.
I think it's more difficult to change a system than you think. It's not just a case of playing, let's play a 5-back. Like, this way of playing, this pattern of playing has been ingrained in them every day for 18 months. It can't just suddenly go, we're going to play long ball and play the channel. That's not how it works. I think with the players that are out, they were always going to be ropey. They were ropey defensively before, but when you lose 4 of your 5 defensive and goalkeeper, you're going to look even more ropey. They just have to sort of persist through this tough spell, and good things are coming out of it. Like results aren't great, but Archie Gray looks like an absolute
He does.
Rolls Royce of a player.
Yeah, he does.
Well, only 18,
Yeah.
been around for days. And it's also highlighting that I think Son has gone past his expiry date. I think he's not the Son that had been there for 10
I mean,
years.
he's been
I've
there
heard,
for a while
yeah.
now,
Look,
Yeah.
Spurs
Yes.
fans are saying the same. Like, he shouldn't be starting. He's not on the form where you can start him, and that is costing them as well.
They
You're
bought a long-term
expecting that he's just gonna do what he used to do and be a match winner. Not
Like-
gonna happen. When Kane first went, Son will pick up the slack. Not gonna happen. Or when Kane was injured.
They've invested in the replacement there. They've got the Odebert in who tore his hamstring and he can't play it. Like, what are you going to do? Like, they've done succession planning for a lot of these positions.
Yeah.
And these players aren't fit. Like, I don't know what else they can do.
Yeah.
And Daniel Levy's
think-
not going to go, here's 100 million war chest.
No chance.
Buy some players in January. Because these players that they buy now have to be better than the players that are out. They're not going to. You don't want to spend 100 million on squad players.
Yeah. That's Arsenal's.
Yeah.
That's Arsenal's MO, is just bolstering with squad players that play in the same position. All I see is us linked with like attacking right or centre mids. We don't need more attacking right or centre mids. Can you please give us a left winger?
Zubimendi will be good for you because I think he's
Yeah.
wanted by everybody. But I saw the
Well, we know he's a replacement for Partey.
yeah, but like Cunha's on the radar, but I think that'll cost a lot of money to get him out. You just need some.
He will have a clause in his contract if they're relegated.
If they're relegated, yeah, but you need someone now. Like Jesus has just done his ACL. Namwani, how you say his name, he's injured.
Ethan
Saka's obviously
yeah.
a while. You're just crying out for some sort of outlet up top. It's just, I always think the January window is the one with the highest expectation because it's mid-season and people know what you need. But it's also the window you get ripped off the most, so clubs just don't like it.
It's where you can't bring in someone that's 21 years old with a ton of potential. You need to bring in the 32-year-olds that is coming in on a 2-year deal to do a job.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen like that in the Prem, though, does it? Because the amount of wages you're spending, they want some resale value, which you don't get out of 32-year-olds. So yeah, difficult one. I think Ange will stay on though. I think they've got to get another summer. And then next year, if you're repeating the same things, then they'll have to look at either his methods, is it not sustainable in the Premier League, or what do we do? Is it a manager change? I think every time Spurs change a manager, they just repeat the cycle and they're doomed to be that 8th till 6th position. So they're not doing anything different.
They're not doing anything different. What do you think to Mr. at Leicester?
PR disaster.
Yeah.
Underwhelming at best.
To say the least, man. I think they took the bait from United with everyone talking about how Rude needs to stay. It's the wrong appointment. They should have gone for a manager with your Premier League experience, especially one experience with fighting with relegation battles. Like, we're talking about obviously he's retired now, but the Sam Allardyce is...
Hold on. You told me that Ruud van Nistelrooy had experience 8 weeks ago.
I mean, not in the Premier League.
You said Premier League experience.
I said that. I don't recall.
Because he was a Premier League player. It doesn't count for anything.
It
He's got
counts for
managerial experience though. He just doesn't have, like, they're in a dogfight. They needed a dogfight manager.
Yeah.
Someone that was going to completely revolutionise how they play, and they got neither of those things.
Yeah.
I think Bemi nailed it. They got lured in by the bait. There was probably a lot of different managers they could have gone for. I do think there's an element of like entitlement amongst Leicester City fans because of the history that they've had over the last 10 years. But, they had to just stay up. That was the only target they had, and they've signed terrible players to do that. Like, Jordan Ayew is not a striker that's going to fire you 15, 20 goals to keep you in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think that... unfortunately, I think we're doomed to repeat the 3 up, 3 down. Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester.
Yeah, Ipswich will be the one, potentially. Yeah, we'll see.
It's disappointing because they play some really good football this year as well.
Yeah.
Ipswich,
but the thing that made no sense to me is they went out and signed 2 parts of the worst defence last year in Muric and O'Shea. Is that his name? Dar O'Shea? And they are defensively fragile. Like, they've already dropped Muric for their League One championship winning goalkeeper. So they've just spent 40-odd million on 2 players that aren't very good. I like them, so I hope they stay up, but not looking good.
If they don't...
Yeah, I like them. I like the way they play. Obviously, your local mate, Delap, in the side too. But yeah, Was it Ipswich or a Man City back on form? Was
Uh,
it the
but
the
Yeah,
10-year, the confidence that a 10-year deal of Haaland gives you that's given them the nice bounce?
I mean, he scored like the fifth or fourth goal.
yeah, I think there's
Yeah, 4-4-5, yeah.
something that's not been released that they know there's some
Yeah,
like an air of positivity around the whole club, like Pep signing on, Haaland signing a 9.5-year deal, or they've signed a 50 million quid 18-year-old defender, they've got an 80 million quid left winger coming in. Like there's definitely a shift in the City mentality for whatever reason. So yeah, I think they could go on one of these runs now where you see them win 90% of their games.
Well, it's 6
What's
points behind Arsenal now in second, so it
big
doesn't
game
look
next
like
week?
Arsenal. Yeah, is it first of Feb? Arsenal City. It doesn't look like at this point in the season now that Arsenal are going to hold off City. So City are going to be second or better with a 12-game blip in their season.
I know.
Yeah, they've got a very weird run sitting
Your
out.
voice when you say that.
They've got PSG away in the Champions League, Chelsea at home, and then Club Brugge, and then Arsenal away on the 2nd of Feb. So a right little run for them now. But you know what, City are like a couple of wins and they get their confidence and they just start steamrolling teams.
Yeah, well, it was who was scoring for them and who was assisting. It looked like Foden was back at his best, albeit against Ipswich, but we know Ipswich have been playing good football and have been hard to beat this year. So was it just a blip for Ipswich, or was this Man City turning it on again and finding their mojo? Foden back on form. Kovacic looked like a player. De Bruyne with a couple of assists, and his through balls were back and as precise as ever. Even Joku popped up with a goal and an assist, and obviously Haaland back on the score sheet as well. So
Bad thing was the fullback wasn't over the age of 30.
scary for the rest of the league. I think Liverpool got it this year, City next year, and I don't know what happens in year 3, but I'm struggling. Like, this was Arsenal's chance and they've blown it again.
For what, 7 years now?
What else we got? What else we got football-wise? Anything worth chatting about?
Not really.
No, the only other bit I had on the agenda was the Australian Open, and we've got Alcaraz versus Djokovic, which is going to be very difficult for Djokovic, although it's not Alcaraz's preferred surface.
Man of clay.
Yeah, man of clay indeed. But yeah, Djokovic with Murray in his corner. Could that be the winning formula? Could that be the final piece in the puzzle to get Djokovic past the Grand Slam total and take the outright record? So potentially, I've got to get past Alcaraz first, and then it looks like who's got an easy path through to the final is Yannick Sinner. Sinner by name, Sinner by nature. That's pretty harsh, isn't it? Don't like a drug cheat.
Let's see. You always go on about him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Djokovic is at that stage in his career now where he takes whatever he can, uses whatever he can as motivation. I mean, look, he had the whole thing with the reporter where he wasn't trying to, even give him any sort of, trying to have any sort of conversation. And then he explained himself on X. I'm thinking, maybe he could just explain himself in public in front of everyone anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's just trying to use anything he can as motivation. And he's at that stage where, I mean, you're getting your rivals to join your team to upset the young guns. I think he's at that stage. Like I said, he just wants any form of motivation, just to take his game to the next level. I think Alcaraz has got too much for him. Alcaraz, I mean, he's fun to watch. I really enjoy watching him play. Reminds me a bit of Nadal and Federer, a mix of both. So it'll be an exciting game. Probably tip Alcaraz to win that one. But it should be a good game. And hopefully he wins, he wins the whole thing. Because like you said, with Sinner, is always a controversy when he plays. So
it's going to linger over him. It's going to linger over him for the next 4 or 5 months until the court date, and it may linger over him for the rest of his career. There may be an asterisk next to his name. There never really seems to be when these things happen. Swept under the carpet pretty well, especially when they're a world number one. But
world number 2 as well. From the women's side, is this Swiatek? Yeah. I'm pretty sure she tested positive as well, while hers was a small percentage, still positive.
I think it was a similar excuse.
Traces, as they always say. So it's like, I mean, yeah. I mean, if why aren't we finding traces and everyone else? Why is it just you? Sort of thing. So
Exactly.
there
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
exactly the point.
Yeah, these
That's the
people,
question that people aren't asking.
they're cheating the sport. It's a shame as well. It's a big shame because tennis is a sport. We've all grown to love, and when I see people taking shortcuts, it's disappointing to see.
One thing I would say,
Well,
just on a positive about Djokovic and Murray, I think it's a shrewd move from Djokovic to bring Murray in as a consultant. I don't think he's his coach. I think he's his consultant. I think they consult on strategy for who he's playing against, because that's what Murray was really good at. He's a very intelligent, or was a very intelligent tennis player, and I think with him in your corner, it definitely adds a string to his bow. So I think in that regard, it's actually a good move to have someone like Murray in that's played against a lot of these guys as well.
Yeah, different
Cool.
perspective.
Well, we'll see. It's 9:30 Tuesday morning, so we'll catch the result. And this time next week, when we catch up, we will have new Australian Open winners, and we will have the Super Bowl finalists as well. So look out for that. If you want to get in touch, it's allsportspods@gmail.com. You can subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.